Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Backmarkers F1 Show, and we're super excited to be back for the 2020 season. It is our very first official episode of the 2020 F1 season. Of course, we had our special one-off interview there with Nicholas Latifi.
Very cool.
Last week.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Yeah, which we can get into a little bit later, but this is the first official one where we're back at our home studio. Of course, Shaker is joining us back from Jamaica.
Ow.
Mid-season form.
Yeah.
Mid-season form.
Still preseason testing going on, so we haven't worked out all the kinks just yet. But Jamaica was good, Shaker?
It was really good. Really warm. Completely different from what I came back to.
Is there infrastructure for a Grand Prix in Jamaica?
Actually, you know what? If you got into the middle of the island and with all the mountains and stuff, it would be a cool track. But unfortunately, not one that's like made.
It's too bad.
If you like skinny mountain roads, it's a fun drive.
So a good rally stage. Yeah, good rally stage.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you back, and it's good to be back, everybody. I know it's been quite a few months, not even really quite a few months, but just a couple months since our last podcast. And getting back to the Nicholas Latifi interview, if you haven't done so already, please check out the podcast that we did with Nicholas Latifi. It is included in our link down below and obviously at our homepage on our channel. And Tyler, me and you did that interview last week, and we had a really fun time doing it. And you know, not just watching it just because it's our interview and we're promoting it, but I just found that it was very interesting. He said a lot of great, informative things, and my favorite part of the interview was when he was talking about the technicalities of an F1 car.
Yeah. I ended up checking out that interview when I got back, and like a lot of the details that you would not get from like interviewing, say, like a reporter or anybody that's just an F1. You know, these guys experience the car firsthand and actually tell you the exact differences between, like he said, driving a GP2 car and then driving an F1 car, you know?
Yeah, well, it was pretty cool to interview him, and he was very, very open, which was really nice, and nice to get the good side of Nicholas Latifi and to be able to share with a fellow Canadian and have a second Canadian on the grid. He seems very excited for this season. He's already won Rookie of the Year, which is fantastic for him. And
I forgot to congratulate him on that.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year. No, it should be. It was a fantastic interview. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely check it out. Some very interesting stuff that he said to us, and again was very open, very funny as well, and everyone will enjoy it.
It seemed like a very Canadian interview.
It was. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, definitely check it out. I mean, and share it too on F1 Reddit and other places as well, because, you get to know him a little bit. And you bring up a good point, Tyler. Like, there's a lot of personality in the interview, which I was surprised came through in a phone conversation.
For sure, yeah.
I can really imagine if down the line we land someone in person or him in person, how amazing that interview would be.
Right, because it's tough when you're doing a phone interview, and a lot of people make this mistake that they treat the phone interview as if it's a conversation with somebody sitting in the room, and then you got guys jumping over each other. I think I was telling you about a Mark Webber interview I was listening to over the phone, and the host just kept jumping on top of everything he was saying, and I think that was one thing, if not to be ego inflated, but one thing that you did a good job of and we did a good job of was just letting him say his part. Even if we wanted to jump in on something, we just waited, and it was a good flow.
You're not in there to see what his next reaction is going to be. If he's done talking, he's going to say more, so you can't really jump in. And I'm not interrupting an F1 driver, so he can have at her.
It was funny,
it was also just there's constantly just interesting stuff, so I just wanted to listen to him. Everything he was saying, it was just processing, oh, this is cool. It was, it was very enjoyable. One of my better. I've interviewed a lot of people, from around the world, with the different sports that I cover, and I have to say he was one of the best interviews I've ever done, and I've done a lot. That's saying something. So that was well done, and thanks to Nicholas Latifi and Williams as well for letting us do that.
You know, the one thing I don't think you guys mentioned, which would have been cool, was he's also he's taken number 6. Ottawa's also the 6 because we
did mention that.
Oh, did you?
We did.
We touched on it a little
quickly. We don't have a Drake, which was
we don't.
The unfortunate thing.
We have a Keenan.
Yeah. Yes.
Shout out.
Yes, that's
Shout
true.
out to last night.
That's true.
Well, that was one of the funnier parts of the interview, and you could kind of see his personality come through there, and that's what we're kind of talking about. If we were in person, I would have loved to kind of go down that road a little bit more. But he threw some funny things in there as well, and again, a lot of people maybe don't understand those references, not being from Canada or living in this Ontario province. But
that's why the machine called Google exists, though.
Right, exactly.
Google does help with that.
But he understands it, so it's kind of funny to converse with somebody that's. You think about it, and it hit me kind of during the interview, like. This guy's in Formula One.
Yeah.
We're talking to a Formula One driver. So,
yeah.
But yeah, very appreciative to Nicholas Latifi and, of course, to Williams, who helped set that up. And hopefully, come time in the Canadian Grand Prix, we'll be able to get to talk to him in person.
Yeah. Hopefully, 2020 has been off to a great start so far this year with what we've been able to land. And hopefully that continues. And more drivers, past and present.
Yep.
And future.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah.
Teasers.
So, the plan for today is nothing super technical. We had so far 6 or 7 car launches this week, car/livery launches. So this podcast is just basically going to be our reactions and opinions on each livery and each car. If you're here for a big technical breakdown of the barge boards and the front wings and the end plates.
I stopped taking engineering in grade 10, so I will not be breaking down.
I mean, if
any
you really
aerodynamic.
want that, I'm sure you can go check out the videos of the actual manufacturers.
F1 did a good job of breaking that stuff down.
They
actually
do a really good job of breaking down each car, and even during the unveiling and everything, they talked about it really well.
We're going for curb appeal and marketing and all that jazz. That's how you're going to market your brand.
Cool,
right? Yes, what the kids are going to be having on their walls, as we have new posters this year.
Yeah,
as you can see behind us.
It's like when you were a kid, red goes fastest.
It's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's true. Red
that's why we were all attracted to the red car.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about. How Ferrari is hopefully going to go faster with the red.
Yeah. So we're going to just look at all 7 teams that have released, or actually I believe I say 7. We'll get to why it's not 8. Racing Point, Williams, at the time of this release of this video, the only teams that haven't released anything yet.
And Renault.
And yes.
Well, yeah, Renault's like a half. They're like a...
Yeah, Renault was disappointing.
I don't know what that was.
But those 2 teams will be releasing at testing next week in Barcelona. So that'll be after that. So... I guess the first team that we'll start off with was one that was released just yesterday on Friday, and that was the new team, formerly Toro Rosso. And if you take a look at our pit board at the front there of our set, it's a new addition and a little bit of a piece of history because it is Toro Rosso, which no longer exists.
Nope.
That's unfortunate. Even though it's still like the Red Bull brand, it's just their fashion. I hope we get to see Daniel Kvyat and Pierre Gasly in some beautiful suits or whatever coming in before every race.
Yeah, not those lime green jackets that they were showing off.
Oh, is that what they had going? Oh, well, I mean, that could work too.
Well, people, I feel for you. If you watch that thing live, that was rough.
Oh, was it bad?
I watched it live. I was like, finished everything at work. I was like, I'll watch this before I go home. They're like, this car launch will be broken up into 3 parts. I'm like, God. Oh, Jesus Christ. And I'm not a fashion person at all. Like I hate all that stuff. You know what I mean? So they did like the AlphaTauri one and then the AlphaTauri race brand stuff. And it was just all... And then at one point, like the lights started to change and it went to the car. And I'm like, finally. And then just more people started to come out with clothes.
But did it look good though?
The clothing?
Yeah.
That'd be a whole other podcast, my friend.
Did it look as good as the car?
It's out of our price range. Out of our price range.
You know what pissed me off? I don't know if anybody else noticed this too, but the guys would come out with a bag and they wouldn't hold the bag by the handle. They would just hold it in a weird position. Like, when you hold a bag, it has a handle.
Yeah.
And you hold the handle. But the guys would just be holding the bag in the middle of the bag.
They're models, Chris. Let them be.
But there's a handle.
Yeah.
You got to show off.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just frustrated me beyond belief.
No, really?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, okay.
That stuff just drives me up a wall.
Who would have thought? No.
Ferrari was bad enough at the beginning of the week, but this one just set it to another level.
I think Ferrari did the best promo out of any company in terms of, where they're going to be going and how they're going to... Like, they have the best marketing.
Yeah, they do. I agree, Shaker.
It was good, but it was a little too much Cirque du Soleil at the end.
No, I loved it.
And God bless Louis Camilleri, but... That guy couldn't sell much, I don't think. His speech was a little too much for me.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I mean, they did have really good marketing, but I mean, it was... Their unveil was exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting a red Ferrari.
It's classic.
It's a red Ferrari.
I wasn't expecting a huge change from them. It was exactly what I was expecting from them. So I think they put out more on their marketing than they did with the car itself. Yeah. But It's what you expect.
They
from
change.
Ferrari.
Oh, we'll get
Fair
to
enough.
Ferrari.
Yeah.
We'll get to Ferrari. We'll stick to AlphaTauri for now. But anyways,
And well, actually, just to clarify, so from what I understand, because when I was watching the stream yesterday, David Coulthard, who was hosting the event, had about 7 different pronunciations for the team name.
I don't think no one has a specific pronunciation yet.
So I believe it is difficult because when the Austrians say it, of course, they have that Austrian accent, so it sounds differently. But from what I understand, the correct pronunciation is Alpha Tauri. Not Tori.
Tauri.
Alpha Tauri. And I believe it's because of the U in there, so it kind of makes sense.
But like Taurus, if you're saying the word Taurus, it's that exact thing except with no S. So we think Tori.
I think it's
Taurus,
just the Italian pronunciation of it.
Maybe Tauri.
So
We'll find out when in Australia. That's when we'll find out. Let's be honest.
Well, David Croft will call it Toro Rosso anyway. So
I think the best way is we get Daniel Kvyat to pronounce it.
Yes.
yeah,
exactly.
He
What
speaks like 10 different languages.
He does. No, he's very
Good point.
versed.
So, anyways, whatever it is,
the livery.
Yeah, forget the name for now. The livery is quite spectacular, and from getting the opinions of people online and ours as well, we haven't showed the rest of the liveries, but we're already putting this as our number one.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's
fantastic.
It's they have a little bit of red to make it go faster.
They do.
But yeah, everything about the car. The only thing that kind of bothers me is like the Alpha Tauri up front. Depending on which angle you're looking at it, it's gonna look weird. But like looking at it head on, it's awesome. The design is really well done. I have no complaints about this car except for that. But I mean, you're gonna be looking at this car, like, have they spaced it out? Depending on what angle you look at it, it's gonna look different.
No, I just noticed this now looking at it. I didn't notice it before, but it says on the front of the wing body and mind.
Yeah.
Which I didn't notice at first.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what that means, but I mean, sure. Other than that weird slogan.
I thought revitalize the body and mind was like
maybe it's their slogan.
Red Bull thing? Is that not?
Oh, maybe.
I would have written tires and engine.
Yeah, we need those. We do.
I would have
those.
written front wing to tell you.
Front wing. This is the front wing. No, but it is a spectacular looking car. Whoever did the livery design deserves a raise because the logo on the side looks really well done. They've blended in nice, fading from the beautiful white to what is it pure black? Is it an off blue?
I think it is
Navy-ish.
pure black.
I think it might be an off blue.
Well, I don't know.
Depending on the photo you look at, it's black or blue. It's tough to tell.
Yeah.
But it blends out really, really well. And what people don't really know is on the top of the top of the body, there's the black strip that goes toward the driver with their number, and that's kind of a nice touch where it's not all white. It adds a little bit of a black flavor to the front of the car as well. So I think they did a fantastic job, and yeah, it's my favorite livery so far, depending on what the other three do.
I would agree, and unless Racing Point or Williams bring something to us or Renault that blow us completely away, I think this will be the number one for sure.
I think it's because it's very different.
Yeah, and it's new, right? I mean, obviously, a lot of the liveries are pretty similar to the ones in 2019, which makes sense. The top teams want to kind of keep that branding and the marketing the similar. But it to me, when I first saw it, and some people also had this opinion that it kind of gives you an old school Williams BMW feel. When I saw the race suits, especially from certain angles, it kind of gives me that feel of that old. And that was my favorite car actually growing up. I was a big Ralf Schumacher fan as well, so it was kind of a good little throwback with this livery. So, but I think you nailed it too. It's elegant, it's simple. Yeah. The colors are a bit different from what we've seen.
It makes sense from a fashion company that they got that down. You'd think they would.
Yeah,
they would figure that out.
Got good taste.
You'd think.
It looks. Yeah, in terms of fashion, it does look really good. And I think honestly, one of the best things about it is it kind of separates Red Bull and Toro Rosso.
It does, yeah.
And it kind of makes them look as their own manufacturer and their own way of doing things, which I really like. Obviously, they still have the Honda sponsorship, the Honda engine, so they are still have the Red Bull logo, so still related to Red Bull. But it's a really good way for them to stand out different from Red Bull and not look as just the B team of Red Bull,
That's fair. And I think that's a really good point as well for marketing wise. I don't know who you were saying, how it reminds you of the Williams car. For me, it reminds me of it's a Red Bull take on the BAR Honda car. Minus all the Lucky Strike and red. Like if you were to convert the red to blue, Honda's known for that kind of like the front end white leading toward whatever color their sponsor is, and this time it's AlphaTauri. So it's nice to see the blue, and it's a little correlation if you look back at designs from when Honda was in the sport before they got back into things a couple of years ago. It shows how they've kind of evolved and a little bit of history toward that. No idea if they even thought of that, but I don't know. It reminded me of a blue BR Honda.
No, good point. Overall, they just mixed everything well together. And, I was obviously making fun a little bit about the launch earlier, but the launch was spectacular over there in Hangar 7 in Austria. And you like to see that from F1 teams that make a big deal when they reveal a car like that instead of just bringing it out during testing. So I did enjoy the pageantry of the event and with Ferrari and McLaren as well. But not only did AlphaTauri have an amazing launch, but they've also provided us with even more amazing content that we saw today because they released the car out in Misano in Italy just to do a shakedown and some filming as well. And they gave us a spectacular POV, and I believe this was Pierre Gasly was driving.
I believe it's number 10 on the
we'll show a little bit of the video here because this is my favorite camera angle, and God bless them for releasing this because
we've seen one of these almost every year for the last little bit. I think Renault did one with Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah,
last year, 2 years ago, and there was another one not too long ago as well, but I can't remember who it is off the top of my head.
Yeah.
The car looks a little bit straighter this year compared to last year with all the angles that they had. A little flatter, sorry.
Yeah, like the nose isn't as caved in. Yeah, maybe it could be a design that we don't know of yet.
Yeah. But I know we were talking about this at the beginning of it before we started the podcast, was the camera angle that they use and the fact that IndyCar has built it into the visor, and if
NASCAR is doing it as well.
They're both there as well.
Yeah,
it'd be nice to see that in F1 as well, so you can actually see how the drivers' bodies moving around these tracks.
Yeah,
a little more that you can see.
So we can pause it now. We'll put the link in there so you guys can check it out. It's also on AlphaTauri's YouTube page, so you can see the full video. But we just wanted to kind of give you a little taste of it if you might have missed it. So just a spectacular piece of content that they put out there. And just wrapping up on AlphaTauri, the only really technical things that we can talk about, and Franz Tost mentioned this in the launch itself, was the gearbox and the whole rear end and the suspension. That's all coming from Red Bull technology. So that's a lot of the similarities here between Toro Rosso. See, I'm already doing it between AlphaTauri and Red Bull. So a lot of similarities between this car and the RB16 that we'll see a little bit later on, which is to be expected, of course, being the B team. But they are aiming for a top 5 finish this year. So I think that this car will be pretty competitive, and we'll obviously get into all this during our season preview. But I think overall, if we could rate this out of 10, I would give it a 9.
Yeah, I'd give it a 8.5 for me personally. I think they nailed it on the head. And 8.5, you're like, oh, that might be a little tankly, and 8.5 is an A. So it's
there.
It's there. It's up there. It's very good.
I'm going to agree with Tyler. I'm going to give it an 8.5, but I'm only giving it an 8.5 because we have not seen Racing Point, nor have we seen Williams. So depending on those, it might jump up a little bit, depending on how those ones come out,
Fair enough. Okay, so moving on to the other Alpha on the grid. This will be a little bit more complicated to use the short forms, but the original Alpha, this is Alfa Romeo, and they've released a special livery, which we expect to not be their main livery for the season, which is unfortunate because...
Pulling a Red Bull.
Yeah, well, much like the one they released last year, Shaker, you and I were talking about it. The one last year was spectacular. This one is arguably even better. Now, this is a special livery, and they sent the car out in Fiorano just to do a shakedown, much like AlphaTauri did and a couple other teams. But just first impressions on the testing livery is pretty spectacular. I do like the color. It's kind of like a black and gray chromish sort of look.
It reminds me of the back markers F1.
Yes, mug.
It is exactly what it reminds me of. That's pretty much exactly what
the carbon fiber look.
Yeah, we're suing, just so you know. Got lawyers on top of that.
You know what I find about the cars though too was mostly every single car, and this is my sort of technical eye that I saw, is that every car seems a little bit more compact.
Yeah,
It's a little bit slimmer. I feel the Ferrari, which we'll talk about a little bit later, has a bit of a shorter wheelbase, but it seems like everything's a little bit more compact and brought together. And it's just an evolution of the 2019 car. So cars look pretty good, but
Yeah, no, the Alpha looks. I do like how the livery flows, and we don't have. Well, not as of yet. I mean, looks like we might have an all black car coming onto the circuit,
right.
But haven't had one in the last little bit. The last one would be the 2014 McLaren. Is that right?
They were a silver, I believe.
Oh, was it? There was a 2015.
2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Sorry, when they had that kind of black and red lookish toward them, which looked fantastic as well. Too bad they were so slow. But no, I really like the livery. I like how it flows, and you wish they would keep it. I mean, the Kimi Räikkönen in his race suit looks phenomenal.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, oh
amazing.
my god, look at the Iceman, just
really
a
good.
stud.
And the suit looks good too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I mean, like, it's just a great combo with the two.
The hat is great. I love the red and the black combo. So yeah.
I hope that's his new profile picture on Instagram.
For sure.
It's got to be.
And as great as it looks in pictures, we did find some footage of the Alfa Romeo going out on track, which we'll just kind of play over while we're while we're talking. They were out doing the shakedown out in Fiorano. It's the same track that Ferrari uses as well. But yeah, so car looks good, even better when it's out on track there. And I believe it was Kimi that was driving, if I'm not mistaken. And also take note of the Orlen sponsorship. That is Robert Kubica's sponsor.
That's true, and they're also on the it's Alfa Romeo Racing Orlen or something like that.
Right, like
it's at
the
end.
chassis name or the official
Alfa
name,
Romeo
whatever.
Orlen.
Yeah,
There you go.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Who is the gentleman that from the footage? We'll give him a shout out for this footage. I think he was right, Mario.
Marco Amendola.
Yeah, so thank you to him. And yeah, Robert Kubica obviously is the reserve driver for 2020. So and also driving in DTM. So he's still trying to stick around in F1. But yeah, overall, I think for me, I'd give this livery 7.5 out of 10. You know, not as exciting to me as the Alpha Tauri one, but still very good. Now, I'm curious to see if they're going to go back to what they did last year with the main livery. I hope they would keep this one just because it looks so good. I think this would look amazing in a night race. Singapore,
for sure.
Bahrain would look really good, and I think you could do a lot of really cool helmet combinations with this as well. But I think that Alfa Romeo overall, again, have done a great job in finding something elegant, but something that stands out as well.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I'd like to see a little more detailing on the engine cover. Would have been nice if they would have kind of filled that awkward space out going toward the diffuser. But other than that, I really like how their design is. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for me.
I'm gonna give it a 6
Whoa!
because I really like it. It's probably up there in my top 3, but I don't like this this BS of showing special editions.
Oh, that's fair.
And then not showing me what the actual car is gonna look like.
Okay,
That's fair. I agree with you, actually. Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Because if they keep that is a solid 8 out of 10 for me. But they're not.
So it's a dependent
It's
score.
a dependent score.
Okay.
Yes.
Get an asterisk right next to it. Yeah. No,
If
but
you
you're
keep
right.
it, I'm gonna bump it up, but they're not. And it's just a disappointment.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But really, what is the point? And some of these teams don't even run the livery during testing.
Yeah.
No,
It's just like, here it is for one day. Okay, back to normal.
Yeah, like I don't get that, you know? Like, if you're gonna be doing a giant unveil and, you know, having this huge marketing thing that you're announcing weeks beforehand, show me what the car looks like on
man.
track. Like, I don't need, it's like, this is what it might look like.
Right.
Well, we're not gonna do this. This just looks really awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Red Bull learned from that
Yeah.
after 5 years of doing it.
Well, I mean, could you imagine a fashion line doing, or like just another car company doing
Yeah.
that? Like, here's our launch livery, but no, you can't actually buy this
Yeah,
color. It's-
Jaguar and lime green.
Right.
Like, just kidding. Here, you can't have it.
Yeah. Anyways, that's one of our frustrations. But okay, moving on to another Italian team. Or I guess Alfa Romeo isn't really an Italian team, but it's an Italian brand.
Scuderia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scuderia or whatever.
Yeah.
Call it.
Is Ferrari. The aforementioned Ferrari, and this livery probably the most unchanged out of anyone on the grid
Yeah.
so far.
There's only one change I've noticed, and that's the font of the number.
Yes.
That's the only thing that I think has changed.
the font that's on the front, and then the engine cover.
Yeah.
The only other one, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, was the Italian.
Oh yeah, they use
the tricolore just over
That's
here.
nice.
Oh, nice.
I like it, but they could have done even more.
Yeah, they could have.
They could have put it on the engine cover. They could have put it. Remember, a couple years ago, they had it on the rear wing, just the Italian flag.
Yeah, yeah.
Look great. So I just think they kind of hit it. And for a team that's so proud to be Italian, I don't mind if they were to kind of maybe even alongside here and the engine cover near the floor.
I've done it there before.
Too, yeah.
It's also on the end of the
right,
the fin, the shark fin there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's looks like a Ferrari, doesn't it? It looks
it's
like
red.
Yeah, it's red with the Mission Win Now black look toward it instead of the Santander white. It's pretty much what it like. That's the only thing that's changed. So, yeah, I mean it's a Ferrari. It looks good. It's gonna go on in 10-year-olds' bedrooms and it'll probably go on mine as well.
Yeah.
So
it looks like a classic Ferrari, like you said. Nothing out of the ordinary that we'd expect from Ferrari.
Yeah, you kind of see the comparison here between the SF90, which is the 2019 car, versus the FS1000.
how do they go up 1,000? Like how do they get to 1,000?
Because Ferrari will compete in their 1,000th championship race later this year.
That's fair.
And it's also 70 years of F1 this year too, right?
Is that it?
Yeah, that's right.
Look at you guys with the stats. Nailing it. Good job, guys.
So, just technically in the differences, I know that they've gone with kind of a whole new suspension design. That's what Mattia Binotto talked about.
I wonder why.
You can see it.
Yeah. And also with the rear wing as well. They've pretty much just gone extreme for maximum downforce. Now, how much have they sacrificed in terms of straight line speed? We won't really find out until the first couple of races.
I thought we were going to find out halfway through the season like we did last year.
Maybe. Hopefully not for Ferrari's case.
Yeah, not for their case,
or
exactly.
The fans. That would suck.
Yeah, so they've done some redesign on the side pod there with the air intake and along the barge boards as well. They've got a little bit more complex along the barge board area versus the 2019 car. So overall, though, when you look at the Ferrari, and they got a skinnier nose, you're kind of seeing this a lot from these teams, especially you notice it in the McLaren for me personally, but a lot of these cars have gotten a lot more slimmer, more compact, like I've talked about before. They just seem like they're a little bit more put together in that sense. And the Ferrari looks like it's a little bit of a shorter wheelbase than last year, but it's hard because it kind of different angles of the pictures and everything. So, but yeah, overall, it's red. What else did we really expect?
Oh yeah, that'd be forever for curveball.
Yeah,
Orange, green,
make it green. Yeah,
green. Yeah, that'd be good.
What do you mean? Green's on the Italian flag. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
no, that's true.
But the launch was extravagant. Like I said, it was maybe one too many performances for me. But,
I liked it.
It was a classy one. They had it in that historic theater and everything. And the way the car came out on that rotating pivot was really cool.
Don't forget the strobe lights.
And the strobe lights.
Strobe lights made it.
Yeah, a lot of strobe lights.
They just needed a DJ in there,
That's true.
Wasn't it Benny Benassi? I think he was the DJ.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Was this the guy with the longer hair was mixing?
I have no idea.
I didn't even hear any audio.
I didn't even know Benny Benassi made anything after Sandstorm.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Didn't know he was Italian.
I'm sure he is. He did.
You get the last name is a little Italian.
True. That's true. So we'll see. I guess rating this one out of 10 for me, really just a 4.
Oh.
4 just because it's not much of a difference from 2019, and like what else really were we going to expect from Ferrari other than a red livery?
I don't know. Mine's a 7 just because it's average. It's a Ferrari. It's a 7. They did an average job on it. I could give it a 7. It's average. 7 is an average.
I would. Yeah, I'd probably give it the 7. But yeah, like
you're a Ferrari hater.
Nothing.
Clearly.
Nothing new or anything like that. I do like that they added the Italian flags on the edges. That looks make a little different, and a little bit cooler. But yeah, I would like to see completely red and maybe just like a slightly brighter red. But
I think it's matte this year.
Yeah,
still is matte.
It is still a little more matte.
Although you notice when you get toward the rear wing at the end of the engine cover, it turns a little bit glossy.
Yes.
Ran out of paint. Ran out of paint.
They put all of their money into downforce.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that is the 2020 SF1000. So moving on to our next car here. So who do we got next? We've got Haas. And Haas, they released this really early. And
yeah, they just said, screw it, here you go.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I was like,
Well,
yeah,
really
let's get it.
Yeah.
And these are just kind of computer renders. They're debuting the official one at testing, but they've gone with their classic Haas look. Obviously, they ditch Rich Energy.
Rich Energy ditched everything.
They ditched themselves, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, very similar to
Who
the
is
livery.
Rich Energy still? I still don't know.
It's a dude with a beard.
We still don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was hilarious.
But yeah, pretty similar to what they ran when they first entered the sport up until 2018 with the white and the black as well. Now, I believe this is their 2020 car that they released and not the older model. But we're going to see when they release the new one at testing. But, I mean, thoughts?
You know what? It looks really clean.
It's
where
very
compared
clean.
to all the other cars where there's like sponsorships like all over it. If you look at that side angle there, Chris, it looks very clean. I really like the look of it. Just like the Haas logo throughout. It's it's similar to in terms of the color scheme to AlphaTauri, but they stand out on their own really well.
Yeah, I think the red helps that.
Yeah,
for sure. Again, you said very clean. It's nice broke down. My favorite part of this car is the nose.
Yeah,
the nose to the front wing. I think that front look of the car looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of continue that pattern too. They have the white, red. They go to white to red again. It's like throughout the entire thing, even on the mirrors and everything.
Yeah.
The accents are really well done.
Yeah, it's nice and clean. So I know I really like it. And I think that hopefully it's as fast as it looks. I mean, they got some racing red on there, so make it go faster.
Red. Looks like a Ferrari front wing as well. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Ferrari. Everything. They got this.
I know they're really hoping to not crash in Australia. That's their main hope.
They're hoping to get a pit stop.
Yeah.
The tires on, boys. The tires on.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with a 6.5 out of 10 for this one. There's elegance in the simplicity of it. Nothing that's going to blow your hair back, but a return to the Haas brand, which is good for them. So, yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I saw it, I said, oh, that looks nice. It looks simple, very neat, and like you said, it's very uniform and clean, but nothing like AlphaTauri, for example, that kind of blew me away. So, I go 6.5 out of 10 for me.
It's 8 for me. I really like the simplistic design.
You should judge the dunk contest tonight. They'd be
I should. Nice. Everyone's getting high remarks so far. We'll get to the low ones maybe soon, but we'll see. But no, I really like it, nice and simple, as I mentioned before. And yeah, 8 out of 10 for me, above average. Did a very good job.
I'm actually going to tie this with AlphaTauri.
Whoa!
I really like simplistic designs and clean lines like that. Just a personal choice. AlphaTauri is still really well done, but I just love that little red accents that they added throughout their car. If Alfa Romeo doesn't follow their white and red color scheme, I think they're going to stand out really well.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. All right. Moving on to our next car. We only got a couple more left. And McLaren, the MCL 35. And one of
the Lando Norris?
Sorry?
Lando Norris. He did design
the design
himself.
all himself.
He just did it all, man. He's an engineer, a driver, everything.
He did everything.
And this launch, just not talking about the car, but the launch itself was personally my favorite. It was short. It was only 20 minutes, and they got right to the point. They just started. If you guys didn't see it, it was an intro on like the McLaren, the car row that they have, all the classic cars there. Simon Lazenby from Sky Sports just did a quick intro. Then they threw it right to the launch, and right away, like within 5 minutes of tuning in, you already saw the car. They brought the car out, pushed it out. You got to see it.
Oh, no.
Then they brought the drivers out. They brought
It's off. It's done.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Did we put the brakes on? Just falls right off the stage.
What was the Lando quote from last year? It's broken. It's broken already. It's broken.
So I just liked that it was simple and it was quick and to the point, and not too many comments, not too much performances, anything like that. It was a classy, nice little car launch for McLaren. So that was for me personally. I just enjoyed McLaren's car launch. Now, getting to the livery, and I know, Shaker, you had some grievances with this livery.
Yeah, I mean, it's not grievances. I still really like it. I wish they would have added more of like a darker blue and a little bit more blue, like how their suits look last year. It was a little bit blue with orange accents.
You want more blue?
I want a little bit. If you go back to that side angle, here, Tyler, I'll explain. I wish they carried that blue all the way throughout. rather than stop it like right there, you know?
Okay.
I wish they would have continued that line just all the way through and just make it a nice clean look and kind of would have matched the tracksuit a little bit more where they have the orange slash going through the middle.
Right.
You know? Like, I'm no graphic designer, but this is just, you know, what I would want as like a 12-year-old kid.
Lando.
Well, you know what it reminds me of looking at it from this side angle is the Telefonica Renault that Fernando Alonso used to drive.
Yeah.
If you change that orange, that blue is literally identically the same. So I like that checkerboard design, and I wish that maybe they would have kept that done a little bit more with that. But I don't disagree with you. I agree. I think a nice blue would have been more, or just like make everything papaya orange. I know they changed the halo to the orange as well. Is that what you were thinking?
There's way too much blue. There's not enough papaya orange, and that ruins the car for me.
Really?
There's not enough papaya orange. There should be some papaya orange accents on the front wing. On the rear end, there's not enough orange on it. There's not enough orange on the rear wing. I really am a big fan of the matte papaya orange this year, and not the glossy papaya orange.
Yes.
I think that's going to shave a couple tenths off.
Also, the reason I say that, Tyler, is because next year I feel like their colors are going to be orange and silver when they're going to Mercedes. And I feel like we're going to see a lot more orange in the next few years compared to the blue we're going to see. So that's why I just wish there was a little bit more blue, because like their suits looked really good last year with that dark blue and the orange just slash kind of going out through it. I think it stood out really well.
Too much blue for me, for my liking personally.
They took it from Toro Rosso.
They took all that paint they weren't going to use anymore.
You got it.
Well, and it's interesting when you look at the car head on in this angle, you really notice the nose here being almost even more slimmer than it was last year.
Yeah.
But this car looks really good, and watching the video on the launch looked really good, looked really racy. I really hope McLaren have built a car as good as they think and even better than what it was last year. But yeah, overall, the car just looks really, really good. And you look at this picture from the rear as well. It just looks so
racing
mean.
red.
You know what? What I wish they added, what they have in the McLaren Senna with where you could see the people's feet.
Oh, I didn't see that.
The McLaren,
really?
they have a little like window where you could see the people's feet. I wish they had that. That would have been awesome. That would have been
cool. I wish they would have put transparent paint on the halo.
This is like this is the somewhat technical me, but like not at all. And this could mean nothing. But along the rear rims there, or in the rear rims, there's a lot of I don't know, inlets. They're not inlets, but
holes
or whatever they could be. I don't know. I wonder if they found some design in the rear rim.
Yeah, it could help with cooling the brakes.
Yeah.
Well, Lando and Carlos said they worked a lot with the engineers this year to make it more of their own car. So maybe it suits their driving style more for the way how the engineers designed it. So you might be right. It might be a little bit different. It might provide a little bit more, or maybe a little bit less, depending on when they get into the racing.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing I do like is their sponsorships. Rather than, how Ferrari kind of has them like standing out on the side there, they just nice and small little sponsorship just along the edges, not to take away too much from the car,
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is because I do believe they still don't have a title sponsor.
Oh, okay.
Like I know they have Dell and the Husky Chocolate and the watch company as well, but I don't think they have a like Mission Win Now, for example.
Okay.
So that might be part of the reason why, but I could be wrong. But yeah, overall, I think this is a great looking car. I think McLaren are really starting to find their groove again this season, and everybody just seems really confident. They seem like in a really positive place. So I think McLaren are finally past all that disappointment of the Honda-McLaren relationship, and they're kind of really starting to come of their own. And like you mentioned, with the Mercedes partnership coming in as well, I think that'll be an even bigger step. Hopefully then we'll see kind of return to the old school livery. I don't know if you guys can see the old McLaren Mercedes livery just at the front there back when Kimi used to drive for them and Montoya and David Coulthard, Mika Hakkinen in those days. I think that McLaren...
One of my favorite liveries.
Yeah, probably for me was the best of all time. Yeah. That 2003 McLaren that arguably Raikkonen had a good shot of winning the title that year, that was probably my favorite car and livery of all time. So
it's up there.
For me, I'll vote a 8 out of 10 for McLaren Racing on the MCL 35. Love the way it looks. Love the little addition of the papaya as there. Not mad about the blue. I don't have as much of a problem with it as you do, but I think overall the way the car looks and blends in together is nice, and it just looks like a really mean racing car.
Just noticing now, I don't know if it's the angle that I'm looking at this picture. They also added a little bit of red at the bottom. But again, I don't know if that's just the way.
That's the papaya orange.
Okay, see,
but they do reflection.
They do have the red on the rear wing.
See, gotta have
husky
red.
chocolate. That's what I said.
Gotta have red, man.
There's a husky chocolate.
Red goes fast.
Red goes fast. For me, as I mentioned, too much blue, or at least not enough papaya orange. I think is what I'm getting at. Not enough papaya orange. I think is what is really going on here. So for me, it's for that reason, it's a 6 out of 5.
6 out of 5.
6 out of sorry, 6 point. 6 point. I'm lost. 6.5 out of 10. Sorry.
Have you guys ever seen that movie? Oh my god, I'm forgetting the name, but it's like on the speakers, like we're gonna bring it up to 11.
Yeah, exactly what we're doing. Yeah, 6.5, and the 0.5 comes from the matte papaya orange.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5 because I still really like it. And again, it's more of like just an aesthetics thing for me. I wish they added a little bit more blue, but I think it still looks really good. It really McLaren always stands out on the grid with their orange, but they've added just a little bit more blue than I wanted. So
fair enough.
7.5.
Okay, coming to our last.
I have something on this right away, Chris.
Oh, okay. Our next car?
Our next car.
Or McLaren. Okay, our next car. All right.
Our next car.
The next car that we're introducing is the Mercedes W11. Take it away.
Chris, I never would have saw the day that Mercedes would have a wannabe Ferrari. They have included racing red on the Mercedes this year.
Yep.
Racing red on the Mercedes. What is happening?
It'll be their downfall.
It will be because one, that's just bad juju. Two, what are they thinking? They're bringing their arch rival Ferrari's red onto the car. You don't see Ferrari adding silver and lime, whatever teal that is.
Tyler, we've said it all podcast. Red goes fast.
No,
not this kind of red.
Silver goes fastest, clearly. So yeah, I obviously it's with a new sponsorship, Ineos, however they're pronounced. So you can see it on the, of course, the air intake for the engine up top, and the inside of the front wing. It's a little red in there too, but yeah.
I kind of agree with you there.
Not a fan of the red on it. Like
yeah.
The Tommy Hilfiger logo is enough red.
Yeah. With that, I also really like the green they've added to the side with the Petronas logo kind of going out through the entire side there.
Yeah,
I really like that.
I do like that as well.
But I find the red's just kind of thrown in there for effect. It doesn't really add or take away anything. Like maybe it's a sponsorship thing. Whoever they're getting sponsored by wants a little bit of red. Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like it's kind of just thrown in there. You know, if you're gonna be the silver arrows, be the silver arrows. Yeah. But just the whole like. It's just like a splurt of red here. Like, okay, you know what? We're out of silver and green. We're gonna just throw a little bit of red in there, guys. Yeah. No, I feel you.
Like, in that picture, it looks Ferrari red.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I do really like the Petronas logo on the side throughout the entire thing. I think that adds quite a lot to their car, and for that, I would say it's a little bit of more of an improvement from last year. Oh. But yeah, you're right. The red does take away from it. Absolutely.
Like, remember when you were a kid and you had a coloring book and you started coloring something red and then it would break and then you just had to leave it? That's what this looks like.
It's like how Elon Musk did the Cybertruck. It's kind of what they did. We got a kid. It's like, try what would you want our car to look like?
And I understand the sponsorship. We have to add some red, but can you not incorporate it a little bit better? And, Mercedes has had one of the best liveries from when they've came back into the sport. And I agree, when the addition with the green, it looks fantastic. It looks great on the clothing, the hats, the car itself just looks really, really good. And yeah, that's the whole point of the silver arrows, is that it's that silver look. And I like the red keeping the star there for Niki Lauda, but
that's cool. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
But the other red, it just looks terrible. I mean, it's just, like I said, it just does not fit. It just looked like somebody threw it on there and was just like, okay, let's just keep it here.
The only way it is acceptable is if it's like the red on the top is meant to be Niki Lauda's red hat.
That's the only way it would be acceptable.
Exactly, which I'll be like, okay, I feel bad for crapping on it then. But if it's for the sponsorship, then they deserve to be crapped.
You know what? If they were doing for Niki Lauda, I would have put him more on the rear wing. Like in the back or the front of the rear wing to kind of make it look more like a hat.
Well, that like with your driver's head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or make the halo red.
Or make the halo red.
Make the halo red. That'd be,
that I get, to give it more of a, kind of throw it to Niki a little bit. But yeah, just the way they've done it just detracts from the car rather than with what, after adding that green on the side, they're doing so it looks a lot better. But yeah, just kind of takes it away.
Yeah.
It's what the issue is? It brings your attention to the red.
It does.
And it where like the rest of the car looks
it's
really
like
good.
It's like when the halo came in the first year. You just notice the halo. Now like this whole season I can notice the red.
Yeah,
right.
I can look over the halo now, but yeah, you're right. It's just it takes away from what is really nice about their car.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree. It was pretty disappointing from them. Just a couple of technical things that some people were already pointing out is that if you notice the air intakes around the Mercedes are smaller than they were last year. So indications that they might have figured out the cooling issues that they've had for most part of 2019. So it could be an area that they improved as well. But yeah, overall, the car looks a bit similar to the one in 2019. But that was it was pretty disappointing there, just seeing those weird additions of the red for me.
Yeah, I agree.
It shows Mercedes are cracking under the pressure. They are cracking under the pressure of defending.
This is the season.
Going for their 7th title in a row. So for me, I'll give this a 3.5 out of 10.
I'm even lower. I'm at a 3.
3, okay.
But we're on the same page. Yeah, not a fan of it at all.
I'm going to give it a 5 because I do really like the car, except for the red. I love the green, and in this rendered footage with the green rim, it looks really good. Obviously, they're not going to have that color of a green for their rims.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the back and the side of it, I really like it. It's just not up there with me for the other cars. It's again, like we said about Ferrari, it's kind of what you expect from Mercedes with their color scheme and everything. But yeah, except for the red.
Hey, as long as it's fast on track, I guess that's all that really matters.
That's true. That is true.
Okay, down to our final 2, and really our last one, to be honest with you, because the other team really isn't even worth talking about, but we'll cover it anyway.
I mean, this one isn't huge either.
Yeah, and this is Red Bull, who they debuted their RB16 out on track, and they've already done some track running out in Silverstone with Max Verstappen.
This looks like a championship car. They went so bold. I love it.
Let me show you this angle. We'll show everybody at home as well. When you really get to see the front wing, let me see where it is here.
They found it. They've done it again where they found some sort of loophole, I think.
Well, especially with the front wing, when you look at that in detail. But when you look at the front nose and the front area here, just how slim it is. Yeah. It's even slimmer than the other cars as well when you see it from this higher angle as well. It is really skinny. It is really lean. And then when you get into the details of the front wing, I mean, look at that.
That is something.
That looks almost circa 2014 front wing.
Yeah.
How crazy and radical they were. So, yeah, maybe you're right. I think maybe they finally figured it out.
Yeah.
You'd think Red Bull, because it's an aerodynamic regulation, really, that big changes in 2019, they were really disappointing for me because Adrian Newey always usually gets that right. But maybe now, after a year, they finally found it.
I really hope this new, they're focusing more on aerodynamics. It doesn't take away from, what Red Bull's known as, and that is known as a car that is very stable around corners. And I hope they didn't sacrifice that to get top speed, because I know that was a big thing last year. They just weren't keeping up with Ferrari and Mercedes on the straight speed, but they would make up for it on those corners, And I really hope they didn't sacrifice too much on that to go for the top speed, but it looks good. I mean, it's what I would expect from Red Bull. They kind of kept the same color scheme as they did last year. But yeah, no, it looks good.
Yeah, and those shark fins, I don't know what you call
horns?
them. Fins, horns, yeah, horns maybe. On the top of that could be another loophole that they found too. They're like, there's this. I think it's very interesting. A lot of this car is going to be interesting how the front end works on it. As per the livery, which is what we're here to talk about.
Right.
It's very Red Bull. It looks like a Red Bull car.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean it looks good. Looks like what I expected out of Red Bull. Nothing's really changed in terms of livery wise, I don't think.
The only other technical comment I'll add in is that the Christian Horner and the guys at Red Bull were talking about that the integration with the Honda engine with their chassis was incredible. Like they said that when they launched the car out in Silverstone, that everything worked like really, really well.
Good.
Like they're saying a lot of good things. So it seems like the way that they've built everything, finally the car and the engine is just working together, almost like a works team
in
a way. So they seem really positive and upbeat.
Well, that was their big complaint, 2 years back, is the fact that Renault wouldn't give them the option to work with their engine. They just kind of had to work with whatever they did. When, last year was first year of Honda, we saw, some improvements from the year beforehand, but the improvements were only towards kind of max. But now they have a secondary driver that, did so well for them last year halfway through. So, they're hoping for quite a lot this year. And I'm really happy to hear that, because if they can work with their engine manufacturer and make it work so well, and you said this also transferred over to AlphaTauri as well, so we might be seeing quite a lot of improvements from Honda and Red Bull in general this year.
Yeah, they seem really upbeat. Like even Franz Tost was talking about that the wind tunnel for the AlphaTauri car, they look really good.
Yeah.
So that's why they're like aiming for top 5, right? I mean, they're a B team, and to aim top 5 versus the likes of Renault and Williams and Racing Point,
they were the best B team out there last year. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, if you take away what McLaren did last year, they were up there in the top 5 for sure.
Yeah, for me, I'll go a 7 out of 10 on this car. I mean, obviously, the Red Bull livery has always been one of my favorites. It looks great. But the car itself, the way that they've designed the car, much like the McLaren, just looks like a really great racing car. Something that you'd want up on the wall, for example. So 7 out of 10 for me.
Last year, we'll be seeing Aston Martin on that car as well.
That's true. Yeah.
Very true. I have 7 and 10 as well. Same score as the Ferrari, because again, it's a typical Ferrari. It's a typical Red Bull livery design. So, average 7 out of 10 for me.
I'm actually going to give it a 6.5. I do really like it. I agree with everything you guys say. If you look at the side angle there, the only thing I'm not happy about is the sponsorships. Is there's way too much going on in the side of that car. I mean, it looks really good and they make it work really well. But like, look at the front of that car: Honda, Mobil 1, Pirelli, Citrix. I can't read what language that is.
Let me try.
I'm assuming it's Japanese because it's Honda, but I might be wrong. So
who knows?
Yeah, so
we're not sure.
Yeah, so that's the only thing, but it still looks really good, and they make it work really well.
Yeah, you got a good eye for the design.
That was good.
They should pick you up, graphic designer. Okay, so the last one for our livery reacts and opinions, and the saying, last but certainly not least. This is last and definitely least.
This is I don't know what to say.
They had a car unveil?
I don't know if we wanted to let people know of some of the other segment ideas we had this year, and we thought that this maybe would be our first kind of intro to this segment that we were going to do, but we wanted to save it just because we weren't ready just yet. But we're obviously talking about the Renault launch that they did, which was
really a launch, though. It's like more of like a lunch.
Look how well rendered that helmet is.
Right? This must be the new Photoshop CS6. But man, what a kick in the nuts to F1 fans. Especially the ones that went there.
Especially for to be the first one.
Yeah. If this was like the day after Ferrari, everybody was hype after seeing Cirque du Soleil and the car spinning around. And
yeah, mate, here's a PDF file of a couple of photos.
Oh my God. Just, they're the ones, they are the team that needed the biggest start of their 2020. And they have been the absolutely most disappointing car unveil so far.
Is it just going to be a black car with yellow numbering? Is that what we're getting out of this?
Well, I think Daniel Ricciardo's helmet design is supposed to add a lot more to the car.
Well, I hope so. It's not in that photo, though.
How? Are they taking the paint off of it and then using it on the car?
As of what I'm getting in this photo, unless they surprise us and they're like, haha, we got you, here's our actual car, and it's beautiful.
Right.
And it's just a full troll job, which I'll give, if it is, then well done, because you've trolled the whole F1 community.
Just flip through the pictures really quick. So are they only keeping the yellow on the number?
That's what I mean.
They're taking the most attractive thing about their car and literally making it in the one spot.
They were the banana. They were the banana. And who knows if it's just gonna be a black car. I don't know. I like the all black, but not for Renault.
For Renault really stood out with their black and yellow design, and it looked good last year.
It did look good last year.
But how many cars have opted? There's 2 cars this year that have gone for just a black and white design. Haas dropped their gray/black design that they had the last couple of years to go for something that's creative and new. this looks like, something you give to like a 20-year-old. Like, no, man, black looks best. You always got to be wearing black,
Yeah, it's like he's just wearing a tuxedo.
Yeah, like
with an orange or with a yellow pocket square.
Like, we're going with the black classy look, which literally means we're not putting in any effort into our car.
Yeah, the budget must be that bad. They can't afford paint.
Maybe. I don't get it.
But the worst part about it is if they would have just done a live stream video or a tweet, like Haas just tweeted their car pictures.
Yeah,
just here cool, it is. No problem. But these guys actually had an event. Like, I think it was in Paris. Like, could you imagine? We went to the Racing Point launch last year. Could you imagine if that would have happened to us?
Also, if you haven't checked out that video of what an F1 car launch looks like, make sure you go back and check out last year's Racing Point team and car unveil.
Yeah,
Toronto. We were there, and
I'm really looking
person.
forward to that one.
Fantastic
too, as well. Actually,
and also we posted an article, a bit of a throwback Thursday, because it was a year ago today, a couple days ago, just kind of some backstory of our trip there, which was fun. But yeah, people, I'm assuming, because Chris Medlin, I believe, was there at the Renault launch. Chris Medlin doesn't live in France. He would have had to travel from the UK or wherever he was. Like, could you imagine the poor bastards that went to that launch event? Like, bonjour, bienvenue à la launch de Renault. And everybody's like, oh, okay, we're excited for this. Here's our car, and they just put up, like you said, a PDF document of the car. You're like, is this?
We're gonna send you home with a what do they call those? Do you plug it in your computer?
Oh.
The
USB?
The USB stick? Just send you home with a USB
Everybody
stick.
gets one. Just a picture.
Just a picture, yeah. 500 megabyte USB stick.
It's like when Apple, almost like 7 or however many years ago decided they put a Coldplay album, or sorry, a U2 album on your phone.
On your phone, yeah.
You're just like, okay, thanks Apple, but I really wanted to see more out of what you guys were doing, and that's Renault. Well, it's like, hey guys, here's a picture. Okay, awesome, but where's the car?
Yeah. I really hope this is a troll job by Renault. I really hope so. And that they're just like laughing right now. It's like, look at these losers.
But the car isn't even built yet. It's not done yet. That's what Cyril said. He's like, well, we didn't want to release a car that was it's like, don't do
an
event.
Livery. It's a livery launch. You can have last year's car and do the livery launch.
Exactly. Well, he's like, oh yeah, we didn't want to do that. I'm like, well, this is better. Just putting up a slideshow for everybody to see.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
With 3 pictures.
And you were right,
it's not
Shaker.
a slideshow.
Yeah.
It's like it's a screensaver on your laptop.
And you know what? Yeah. Like, the worst part is whoever rendered this image decided to put like a giant ass light on top of it to make everything nice and glossy, so you don't actually get a realization of the real color of this car because it's nice and freaking glossy.
There's no color. It's black.
Yeah.
It's just a shade.
It's just, I don't get it. Like, what was even the point of rendering a picture of a guy sitting in the seat?
You know what? We might not even see, during the night races in Bahrain and Singapore, we might not even see the Renault on the track.
See the car.
Yeah, we won't even see it. I don't get it.
Maybe we haven't unlocked the car yet.
Maybe.
I think that's it.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe we have to go to like 10 more of those reveals and then we can unlock it.
Yeah, maybe.
You bring up an excellent point, which is they were the team that was the most disappointing last year. Like, even Williams wasn't as disappointing for me as Renault was.
Because, you know what? With Williams, it was a little bit expected of where they were gonna end up. And we're expecting a little bit more for Williams this year, but Renault was in 5th place the year beforehand. And we were expecting a huge improvement on Renault. And then they needed a kickstart for their 2020 season. Yeah, they needed a kickstart for the 2020 season. And this was the most, left way you could go from going the right way.
And you're one of the bigger car manufacturers in the entire world.
And the sad thing is, we actually like Renault.
And the CEO wasn't even there.
Yeah.
He put out a statement afterwards, like, we launched our table better than they did their car.
That's true.
I don't get it.
And we like Renault.
Yes,
we do.
Which is sad, because imagine this was against this was a team we didn't like. Oh my god!
I was just sitting there like sacre bleu.
Yeah, seriously.
I couldn't believe it.
Anyways,
I don't get it.
It's just. Hopefully, it's a troll job. It might not be, but I'm banking on it's a troll job.
Do what Racing Point's doing. It's like we're not going to unveil our car at all. We're going to do it. We're going to just show it at testing.
Exactly.
I would have been okay with that. Yeah, that would have been totally fine with me. But the fact that they pull this bullshit and they're like, no, we're going to have an entire event. Post like 3 pictures, and then the car isn't even ready yet. You guys, what do you mean? You wanted to see a car?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm sorry, we don't do that.
Like 4 other teams already ran their cars. Yeah. Ferrari, McLaren, they've all had cars built, spinning on stages, dancers dancing over top of it. AlphaTauri's launching a design line, and they've got the car ready as well. What else is Renault doing?
A fashion line and a car before they have designed their car.
Oh my God. I mean, imagine if you ordered like a Renault Clio or something and just be waiting for it for 3 years. So Renault is just a big thumbs down from us.
Why? Yeah. What's the score?
For Renault?
Yeah.
I know you said 6.5. I'm going to go -1 out of 10.
I didn't say 6.
No, remember we said 6 out of 5? I'm going to go like
6 out of 5.
I'm going to go like -1 out of 10, if that's even possible.
I'm going to give this a solid 0 out of 10 because this isn't even a car.
It's not a car. I mean, I'm gonna have like what you do, an asterisk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If this is the car we get and it's just all black with yellow numbers and this is how like the unveiling was, it's a 1 out of 10 for me. If this is a massive troll job to the F1 community, it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It is a 10 out of 10.
Right. This is
if
like,
it's a troll job.
If they were expecting a reaction from everybody, it's like, no, we were just kidding, guys.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're doing.
If it's a troll job, it is 100% 10 out of 10. But as of right now, 1 out of 10 for me, which I didn't think I was going to be the highest score, but I am.
Yeah.
I want to know it's a real car before I give it a rating.
That's fair.
Same.
Like Haas said, we've already designed this. This is what we're doing. They were honest with what they were going to do.
Yep.
And sure, they didn't have a car, but at least they were like, this is a full. They didn't even show the full car.
I know. They just cut it off. It was so frustrating. Oh man. Okay, we got to move on from Renault. Before we wrap up, we just wanted to kind of read out some of the reaction that we posted on Twitter to get your reacts in from us. So we're just going to read out some of your tweets and comments. Cameron Cole, this was in response to the AlphaTauri launch, said, best looking car this year so far, which I think we all
agreed with.
Yeah.
Correct. You are correct, Cameron.
Yeah.
Good job.
And also he replied to the Mercedes car launch, and he says, at Mercedes, oh shit, it's launch day, and we haven't come up with a new paint job. What do we do? Just throw some red on the old one and hope no one notices.
Racing red.
I wish you would have read that back in the Mercedes part.
That is a great tweet. Well
Cameron,
done.
that's 100% on the money.
Nailed it.
It was pretty much like that.
Yeah. I hope for more tweets from Cameron.
And this one from the F1 Word. I just can't look past the AlphaTauri launch right now, so that's my livery of the week.
Yep.
And
absolutely,
completely in agreement. And actually, just on that, the F1 Word's doing a live stream launch of testing, which I will be joining next week.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to see how that's going to look. I know he does a lot of great work.
Yeah, he does.
Sean at F1 Word, and he does a lot of live streaming too, so it should be fun. Tune into his channel there, and he does a lot more of the technical breakdowns too as well.
Yeah.
So check out his
again.
videos.
We're fashion. He's definitely a lot more smarter when it comes to downforce and everything.
Yeah, and this was from Mike on YouTube. Mike says, "Finally, you guys are coming. Finally, you guys are going to make some content."
That's true.
Yes, we are, Mike.
I hope
LOL.
I hope the LOL is from my content joke from the Nicholas Latifi interview in our outro when I just mentioned how much content we were making.
I hope so.
I really hope that's where it came from.
This guy realized it was the off season.
Yeah, it's definitely sarcasm.
Yeah, he said, I thought you guys are going to wait to the 2021 season to give it a fresh go. I'm joking. Yes, we know you are. I know it doesn't come through like that in written text, but
I got it. Don't worry.
I got it, Mike.
I'm so offended right now.
Yeah. Mike, we've blocked you, so no problem. No, we're just kidding. So far, AlphaTauri looks the most different.
Which is true. It's different good, though.
Yeah, it is a good different.
Okay,
yeah,
that's fair.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. So
a couple likes on that as well.
I mean,
Absolutely.
he's right, though. I mean, Toro Rosso to AlphaTauri, blue to black and white. It is definitely the most different that we've seen. Maybe next to Haas, complete, like you guys said, going back to what they used to be. So
yeah, for sure. So thank you everybody that joined in on us, and follow us on Twitter at TBMF1Show.
Yep.
And like I said, if you got any comments or any questions, we definitely like to include it in the podcast. But we like all the positive response. It seems like everybody really enjoyed the launch and reveal week. And
yeah, let us know your thoughts down below in the comment description, and maybe it could be featured on our next episode if all goes well with your comment. You know, it's not offensive or anything, or
I don't know,
it's just a bad take.
Mike was pretty offensive, so it's
definitely check out that Nicholas Latifi interview.
Yes,
you have to.
It's probably in terms of interviews, it's probably the most honest you're going to get. You know, you're not saying in front of a giant camera. You know, you're not limited with a lot of stuff that you can say on a network or anything like that. So
the only thing that would make it more casual if we both had a beer in our hand, but we didn't. We were on the phone.
A Molson for all of you guys.
Molson,
he's Canadian.
Yeah,
Molson Canadian.
Yeah, and it was kind of really the first interview that he's done this season, so you get to know a lot about him ahead of testing. So when Williams launched their car, hopefully we'll gain a little bit more traction. But share it with your friends, your family, anybody that hasn't seen it yet. Definitely give them a like. Check out our website as well, www.tbmf1show.com. Posting our articles there. All of our audio podcasts are available there as well. So we post opinion articles, news articles, that type of thing. So give us a check out there. Yeah. It'll evolve throughout the season too for some different content as well. Next week will be obviously the first week of testing and the launch of Racing Point and Williams. So probably at the end of next week, we'll come with a podcast just looking back on those launches and first week of testing as well. We'll kind of get our thoughts on that too.
Yeah, it should be very exciting. Let us know your thoughts down below, and let's hope for a fun 2020 season. It's officially begun, which is exciting.
Very fun to be back. Great to be back with you guys as well. Always fun. Didn't feel like we were off for too long.
No,
but,
it didn't.
No.
Feels like we're just back at home.
Yeah,
for sure.
We were busy coming up with content ideas for
content.
This year,
yes. Hopefully, when we do our preview for the season, we'll kind of lay out a concrete plan for that. Still some things that we're...
that will be after testing for all of you.
Yeah, we don't want to do a Renault reveal for you guys.
No. It's going to be Ferrari reveal. Strobe lights.
We'll have dancers.
I don't know if we want that.
We'll call
guidelines.
some people.
YouTube guidelines.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you soon next week. Bye for now.